One of the most common reasons we read anything is because we require information for something, whether it is for a chicken casserole recipe, locating the correct fuel filter for a car, or identifying the right settings for a Craig jig to create pocket holes to join 1x3 boards together. Reading for and interpreting information is an important skill to master. So in this first lesson, we will be learning how to identify key details when we read and use that information to interpret the main idea of any given passage. So let's begin with the details. How many times have we read something and the only thing that we're concerned about are the specific details? We need a specific piece of information, so we're going to look specifically for that information. The details are going to provide us with clues about the topic of the text. So as you read, it's important to make note of those important details because typically that's how we're going to answer the specific question that we are asking or that is being asked of us. So we're going to look for things like the who of the passage. What is taking place? When is the action happening? Where is it happening? Why is it happening? And finally, how is this information important, or how can I use it? To better understand details, let's take a look at an example. Canada experienced several large gold rushes in the 1800s. Thousands of men and some women headed there. They hoped to find riches in the gold fields. The population exploded. In 1857, Fort Victoria had a population of 500. Then the gold rush started in 1858. Within 2 months, over 20,000 people lived there. So let's look for specific details in the passage that will answer each of the 6 questions listed. Who is the passage about? Well, it's, as we can see in the second sentence, mostly men. What is it about? Well, it's about a gold rush. Where? In Canada, specifically Fort Victoria. When is the action taking place? Well, the gold rush occurred during the 1800s. Why is the action taking place? Well, these men are taking part in the gold rush to look for gold, and they're hoping to strike it rich. How is this information important to me? Well, that's not really answered in this paragraph. So as you read a passage, sometimes the who, what, when, where, why, or how will not be answered because that information is just not there. It's dependent upon the details that the author is presenting. Now, let's think about the main idea. The main idea seeks to answer the question, what is this text about? So before we get into finding the main idea, let's clear up a couple of things in regard to what is the main idea and what is the topic. Well, the main idea is the main point of the text. The topic is the subject of the text, and your topic sentence is going to typically express the paragraph's main idea. To identify the main idea, there's specific things that you will need to look for as you read. So first, you want to try to identify clues at the beginning and the end of the paragraph. Typically, your first sentence and your last sentence will give you a clue to what the author is saying the main idea is. Next, you're going to look for supporting details in the text. These are those who, what, when, where, how, and why questions that we need to ask that will help us determine the main idea. And then finally, we're going to look for key words about the text topic. So to help prepare you better for testing, might I suggest try reading the text twice. During your first read through, you're going to look for the key words and check the beginning and end of the paragraph to try to determine the main idea. Then during the second read through, you're going to focus on the details. Ask those who, what, when, where, how, and why questions to Try to determine if the details support the main idea. Let's take a look at an example and see if we can determine the main idea of this passage. A giraffe's neck can be 6 feet long, but the neck only has 7 bones. People have 7 bones in their necks too. It sounds strange, but it's true. Giraffes and humans have the same number of neck bones. Well, as we see in this passage, it's talking about neck bones, so we know that has something to do with the main idea. The passage also mentions giraffes' neck bones and humans' neck bones. So if you look at the very last sentence, giraffes and humans have the same number of neck bones, this sentence gives us the main idea of this paragraph. Let's take a look at another example. The National Guard introduced re-enlistment bonuses of $15,000 in December 2004. That year, the Guard attracted 49,000 soldiers, about 7,000 short of its goal. It was the first time in 10 years the Guard had failed to meet its recruiting goals. The enlistment rate rose nationwide when the bonuses were offered. The catch? Soldiers must sign up for 6 years and guarantee that they'll do at least one tour of duty in Iraq. Well, what's this passage about? Well, we see that the passage talks about bonuses, specifically re-enlistment bonuses to join the National Guard. We see several details in the passage that support why the re-enlistment bonuses were instituted. So we can safely say that the main idea of this passage is that the National Guard introduced bonuses. Well, what details support that main idea? Let's ask our who, when, why, what, where, and how questions again. Who is the passage about? Well, it deals specifically with soldiers who re-enlist in the National Guard. When is it talking about? December 2004 is stated specifically in the passage. Why? Well, we see in the passage that the Guard missed its recruiting goals. So what did they do? They instituted the bonus, and as a result, re-enlistment rates rose. Where? That particular question is not answered in this paragraph. And then finally, how? Well, how much was the bonus? $15,000. And how long was the re-enlistment? For 6 years. So as you can see, the main idea's purpose is to tell us specifically what the passage is about. What does the author want us to know? It's his or her main point. The details within the passage provide us with clues to what the main idea is. So typically these details are going to support that key point that the author wants to get across.